Tonight, I'm going to rebuild the Minnesota Twins as calmingly and relaxingly as possible. If you're like me, a lot of nights before bed, you throw on a YouTube video to help you get some sleep. So for your sleep companion tonight, I'm going to turn the Minnesota Twins back into a powerhouse. And I have to give a shout out to the YouTube channel Sleepy Slorks for this video idea. Go check him out if you haven't yet. At last year's trade deadline, the Twins sold off a lot of their valuable pieces, most of which were in the bullpen, including Yohan Duran to the Phillies, Griffin Jax to the Rays, and Louis Varland to the Blue Jays. The Twins also made some changes in the front office during this offseason, bringing in some new minority investment groups, as well as changing the controlling owner and executive. It's now Tom Pohlad, the brother of Joe Pohlad, so it's staying within the family. And it seems like the rebuilding in real life is going to continue this season as well, as the Twins are currently 6 games under 500 as of me recording this and need to retool this franchise a little bit. So that is what I'm going to do today in MLB The Show franchise, and frankly, there are quite a lot of good pieces in here, but as we are going to go through a rebuild, we're going to have to trade a lot of them away in this first season. Starting pitcher Joe Ryan is incredibly valuable as he's got another year of team control after this year, and he's a great pitcher, so I should be able to get a really nice return for him. We've also got free agent to be catcher Ryan Jeffers, who's a very solid hitter for a catcher, and that is incredibly valuable. Also in the rotation is the 6'9" righty Bailey Ober, who I do like a lot, but since we're going to be rebuilding and he's only got one more year of team control like Joe Ryan, I might end up having to trade him as well. And last name to mention in this starting rotation is Pablo Lopez, who is injured this year. He's not injured in this roster that I'm using, so we're just going to hang on to him and kind of pretend like he doesn't exist this year. But there is one name that is absolutely not going to be traded from this team, and that is Byron Buxton, who would be incredibly valuable as a power-hitting center fielder and a supreme athlete. However, he has stated many times over and over that he does not want to be traded from the Twins, so we are going to hang on to him, and he's got 2 more years after this year on a very affordable contract. So I'm going to rebuild these Twins until we win a World Series title, but along the way, the identity that I want to have for this team, I want to rebuild their bullpen back into an absolute powerhouse. So I'm going to be focusing on acquiring and drafting really good bullpen arms to have shutdown relievers at the end of games. And in real life, this lineup has actually been pretty good. The Twins are scoring a lot of runs, but in our roster here in MLB The Show franchise, I don't have a whole lot of confidence in here, so we're going to need to find both draft, trade, and probably acquire some good bats as well. The Twins' payroll is really low this year, around $110 million as they were cutting costs and rebuilding. But for this video, I'm going to put our budget up to about $150 million because the Twins have spent that much even as recently as 2023. So that will be what I'm working with. We're not a team like the Dodgers that can go and get Kyle Tucker for $80 million a season. But I do have confidence that with some young talent coming up here in the farm system, especially outfielder Walker Jenkins, we should be able to turn this franchise around fairly quickly. So let's get going with the first season here and see what we can do and start scouting and drafting to get some more talent on this team. One exciting thing about the Twins is we've got the number 3 pick in our first draft here, so we'll be able to secure a really high potential player to start this rebuild off. And by the way, I just released a scouting guide on my channel recently if you want to see how I scout. I'm going to be following most of that throughout this video. This center fielder Elijah Blake and also this third baseman Doug Trevino both look like great options in the first round, so I'm going to start there on the position player side of things. And Blake might end up being a replacement for Buxton in center field once that contract is up. And while I scout him and other position players, I'm going to be looking for the highest potential closers that I can get because, as I mentioned, that is part of the identity that I want for this team, just an absolute lockdown bullpen. After a few weeks of scouting here, Doug Trevino at third base looks great, and if we can get him with a 3rd overall pick, this would be my favorite option so far. Also, closing pitcher Luis Ruiz is exactly what I am looking for, a high potential, very talented bullpen arm. So we're off to a pretty good start here. Ahead to the end of May now, we slip further and further below 500 and further into last place. We are one of the worst offenses in the league, 26th in runs scored. And on top of that, we are 28th in ERA, so we're pretty much bad at everything. That means it is time to start loading up my trading block here and see what kind of offers we can get. Well, no one would offer me a trade, so I went ahead and found one for myself. Joe Ryan is out the door, and we got 2 top 100 prospects from the Braves. I'm really excited about this trade here. Cam Caminiti is going to be a great starter in our rotation for a long time, and also Tate Southazine should be a solid shortstop with a pretty good hit tool. Might be a year or two before we see these guys in the majors, but this feels like a great return for a really good pitcher in Joe Ryan. And here is the other trade that I went for. Ryan Jeffers and Taylor Rogers to the Reds, who are pretty good in this save file. And I got another top 100 prospect, shortstop Steele Hall. And just like that, I'm feeling even better about this farm system with Southazine, Caminiti, and Hall all in our top 6 prospects. And as I went through the scouting process for this year's draft, there really is only one position player that I like a lot, and that is our third baseman, Doug Trevino, who I'd love to get in the first round. I'm just not so sure he's going to fall to the 3rd pick. But the strength of this class was really all in the pitching, including Edmundo Francisco, who I would not mind taking with our first overall pick. This guy looks like he is going to be a stud with guaranteed high potential. And after him is just a long line of very talented starting pitchers, so I think that's going to be the focus of this draft, just loading up on pitching talent here in the first year. And I also really want to get closing pitcher Luis Ruiz. However, I would probably only take him with our 72nd or 82nd pick, so hopefully he falls to us there. So if I can't get Trevino, I'll probably take Francisco. Let's start this draft and see what the teams do in front of us. That is not Trevino. And now the Rays with the 2nd overall pick do not take Trevino. This is very exciting. As I said, this is really the only position player that I had circled for this draft class, and we're going to get him. He looks like a future superstar at third base. This is a great start to our drafting and our rebuilding here for the Twins. Maybe I can get lucky and Francisco may fall to the next round, and he does. I really do want to take him. I'm also very interested in Nathan Madden as well. Both of these guys look really good, but I don't think I can pass up on Francisco here, and he is going to be our 2nd pick. I'm really happy so far. We just got the number 1 and number 2 ranked players in the class with our first 2 picks. And with our 3rd pick, number 72, Luis Ruiz, the closer is still here. This is a no-brainer for me and what I want to do with these Twins. This is going to be my pick here. And from now on, I'm just going to take the best starting pitchers that are available to me. I'm going to grab Cesar Sanchez here with our 4th pick, and I'll show you the rest of the picks here when we can view all of our draft picks. I've really gutted most of the talent on this team at this point, so our all-star this year is 2nd baseman Orlando Arcia, who is 73 overall. It's a pretty bleak scene on this team right now, especially because our best player, Byron Buxton, is having the worst year of his career. He has a 672 OPS, which is just such a far cry from what he is capable of. I really hope that he can bounce back here for us. I didn't find any good trades for Bailey Ober here as we get to the deadline. The White Sox rejected my offer for Edgar Quero, so I think we're just going to hang on to Ober in the rotation for another season, and we'll see what he can do. And we continue to be in the absolute basement of the AL Central, which is not a good sign, but obviously this was a rebuilding year, and speaking of that, let's take a look at our draft picks here. I'm feeling really good about the talent that I was able to get, and that is looking solid. We've got a new franchise third baseman, move over Royce Lewis. Doug Trevino is on the way. The plate skills are pretty advanced. I am concerned about the fielding. We're going to need to work on that a bit before he takes over third base, but this is going to be a great hitter in the major leagues, and this is a perfect start to our rebuild here in terms of draft picks. And we follow that up with 94 potential for the lefty starter Edmundo Francisco, who has great control and solid hits per nine against righties. He will be at the front of our rotation someday. And I got exactly what I wanted in left-handed closing pitcher Luis Ruiz, who is going to help us transform this bullpen back into the dominant one that it was just a couple years ago. And after that, I got some solid starting pitchers that are mostly trade pieces, and I risked it on a relief pitcher who looked like he was going to be really good that I didn't scout, but Albert Savage is not a Savage. This guy's stats are terrible. And overall, this was a pretty weak draft class, especially for the position players, but the Padres did land Patrick Motion. So they have Motion, and he's a power-hitting right fielder with some pretty good tools, Gotta keep our eye on this guy. And we go on to finish year 1 with a very meager 62 wins. We are starting from the bottom here. And the Braves end up defeating the Tigers in the 2026 World Series. I'm not very worried about our result though, because I definitely did my job as GM in terms of acquiring talent during this rebuild in year 1. We've got a lot of good prospects here, and Doug Trevino and Edmund Francisco are the number 2 and number 3 prospects in the league now. But he's not Doug Trevino for long, because he has got a new name. Congrats to Maximus14, who correctly commented that my next rebuild would be the Twins, and with that, Trevino's name is now Kirby Mauer. That's right, take a good long look. Joe Mauer's son is now on the Twins. So going into year 2, I feel really good about our rotation right now, especially with Pablo Lopez coming back. Remember, we're pretending that he did not play last year, but with him, Ober, Bradley, Prelip, and Festa, this is pretty solid. I may want to adjust Festa, but we don't need to do a lot to the rotation. I may make a couple of upgrades to the bullpen. And we're certainly not ready to go all in. I want to make sure that some of our prospects are ready to come up here, but I definitely need to make some upgrades to this lineup. It was terrible last season. We're going to be somewhat balling on a budget again next year, but I want to be competitive, so let me see what kind of free agents I can bring in to help us get there. With Kirby Mauer on the way pretty soon, I'm going to be giving up on Royce Lewis right here and now. He was really bad last year with a 482 OPS. He has absolutely no trade value, and I am just going to release him. It's time to move on. And as I continue to build towards our superstar bullpen of the future, I traded for a high potential closer here from the Mets, and I gave them Simeon Woods Richardson and Anthony Banda. I ended up signing Nate Lowe for about $4 million to play first base for us next year. And our first larger contract here is secured, and it is for Ryan Jeffers, who I decided to bring back. Meanwhile, Tarek Skubal is headed to the White Sox in our division. We really need an outfielder that can hit against lefties, so I'm going to sign Alex Call for a couple of years. I signed Brusdar Graterol for a season, and after many attempts, I finally got the Mets to trade me Brett Beatty. I gave him a pretty solid haul, but I don't need David Festa, and we've got Walker Jenkins coming up in center field, so I don't really need Emmanuel Rodriguez either. And Beatty is going to be the perfect fit in our lineup next season. And if he plays third base, he can help bridge the gap until our prospect, Kirby Mauer, comes up to the show. And after all of that, here is our lineup for Season 2. Martin, Buxton, and Jeffers are going to be our main everyday producers here. These guys are our best all-around hitters. Nate Lowe is really good against righties. Brett Beatty also is pretty well-rounded here, and I traded a lot for him, as you saw, so I'm hoping for some good results. Last year, in 122 games, he had a 712 OPS and 1.8 WAR, but he is still improving, so I'm betting on Beatty to be good for several years for us. And I'm also bringing up our prospect Walker Jenkins to play some outfield. He's mostly going to hit against righties for now, and we'll see how he develops this year. Pretty similar against lefties. The only real difference is Alex Call coming in here and batting 6th. The strength of this team is in the pitching rotation. I feel pretty good about this here. Zebby Matthews is going to take over that last spot as I traded away our other options, and I think he's going to be decent, maybe about a 4.5 ERA. Bullpen definitely looks different. I picked up Brian Hoying in the Rule 5 draft, and then you saw that I signed Graterol and Minter. Cole Sands is going to remain our closer. He was pretty solid last year, 36 saves and a 3.15 ERA. So we're going to trust him in that role again. This is really a bridge year where I still want to be competitive, but just want to let our prospects develop. You've got guys like Cam Caminiti that are on the cusp of the show. Tate Southazine is a couple years away. The profile looks good. And of course, you have Francisco, our starter from last year, and Kirby Mauer. Let's see what kind of development we can get for him defensively in the minors this year. I think a good goal for this Twins team is to finish this season 500 or better. Let's see what this team is capable of here in year 2 of the rebuild. That is not a good start, as we are 1-7 through the first 8 games. Since we sucked last year, I do have the second pick this year, so hopefully I can find some more talent for us as we begin to emerge out of this rebuild. This power hitting left fielder looks interesting. And also this shortstop, Bartolo Guardado, looks like he could be generational, if not really, really good. I'm going to start by scouting him because I've got a pretty good feeling about Bartolo. And once again, I'm going to try and find the most elite closing pitcher possible in this draft class. Unfortunately, we have continued to play really, really badly in year 2. We are 13-26. I cannot believe this. Somehow we are even worse than last year, and the offense is showing signs of being really bad once again. The most disappointing thing, though, is definitely our pitching rotation. That being said, I know these guys will turn it around. I think I just need to be patient because there are some really solid starters in this rotation. A couple weeks later, and the team is playing a bit better, but we just got some really exciting news. Walker Jenkins' potential went up to A. He's having a nice start to his major league career with an 828 OPS so far. Well, I think I've given this team enough of a chance now as we get into June and we just keep taking losses, including losing a series to the Nationals and the Rockies, 2 of the worst teams in the league. I really cannot believe how bad we are, but I just have to accept it and start to sell off some more pieces to try again next year. The fact that this pitching staff is performing as bad as it is truly a surprise to me. Once again, I am loading up the trading block and we'll see what kind of offers we get. We need some fun and some positivity in this season, so let's get to the MLB draft where I've got lots more talent available. The best position player that I found is shortstop Bartolo Guardado, who looks pretty cool. The number 1 player on my board, though, is a pitcher, Willie Gonzalez, who looks really good and might tempt me to pick him. However, I've got such a deep roster of pitchers to select from after that, including some very highly ranked discovery guys, so I'm not so sure about that. But thankfully this year, I do have some better mid-round position player options, including right fielder Manny Santana and third baseman Mustafa Brown. And again, a great closing pitcher option in Estevan Jimenez for pick number 4 or so. And with the first overall pick, the Rangers go with starting pitcher Jeff Lockwood. He was not on my board at all, so I get to choose, and I think I want to go with Guardado. He may not make it as a shortstop because the defense is just about major league average, but the plate skills are so good in the infield. He's also got plus speed, and this feels like a fun selection for us, and he shouldn't be too far from the show. He's got a little higher floor. We now pick back-to-back at 40 and 41, so this is a great opportunity to take advantage of this draft. I'm going to go with a non-discovery starter here that I like a lot. Derek Blankston. He's not going to strike out any lefties, but he has plus control, plus home runs per 9, and pretty good hits per 9. Feels like a solid pick that could definitely be a pitcher in the major leagues. And then with pick 41, I'm going to go with that right fielder, Manny Santana. He's got nice contact skills and just seems like an all-around decent player with probably high B potential. For pick number 79 here, it's time to take our closer, Estevan Jimenez. He's a lefty with some really nice stats. I wish the hits per 9 against righties was a little higher, but it's still solid enough that I think he can be part of our super bullpen. And with my next 2 picks, 109 and 139, I'm going to take these 2 discovery starting pitchers here. We are going to get a lot of value late in this class because these guys are ranked in the top 10 and we're getting them with picks in the hundreds. And for my final pick, it might seem like a weird one, but Corey Rainey started out as non-ranked, and I didn't finish his profile. But if I did, I do think he would move up in his potential, so we'll take the risk on him, and maybe he does end up with a potential. And now as we get to the All-Star break here, it is really time to start selling off pieces of this team. I've got to just give up on this season, which really sucks. One bright spot for us this season is that Ryan Jeffers is an all-star. He's having a great year, and we're going to have him for 2 more years after this season, so I'm feeling pretty good about this signing here. He's not great defensively, but man, he is really solid at the plate. The unfortunate thing is I've looked at the draft board already, and there's not too many teams that are asking for starters, and the ones that do don't have the best trades available for me. I've got to try to get creative here and find a team that is willing to take on some of these starters. And there we go. I was able to trade Pablo Lopez and AJ Minter for Ethan Conrad, who I think I trade for in just about every single franchise I do. Just a solid outfield prospect that is not far from the majors despite being 60 overall because of that contact profile. Well, we might be awful again this year, but at least I can continue to build up my insane bullpen of the future, trading for yet another closer, and I really like that this guy has high control. It was our last year of Bailey Ober's team control, and I threw in Cody Clemens, but it looks like the Marlins immediately waived him, so now I kinda wish I just kept him. And as I keep selling off pieces of this team, we just keep getting worse and worse. We are 1-9 in our last 10, and we are going to finish in last place once again. Frankly, I'm kind of embarrassed with this effort. I thought I built at least a decent team. Let's take a look at our draft picks, which is going to be hopefully a positive part of this year, and it looks like everybody's in the green. No crazy high potential, and our highest actually is our closer, Estevan Jimenez, with 93, and he looks great. That bullpen is really coming together, and taking a look at my position players here, Bartolo Guardado is exactly what I was hoping for. 66 overall, right out of the gate, with 86 potential and really nice plate skills. I think he's probably going to be a second baseman for us long term. If there's anyone I feel like I missed out on in that first round, shortstop Peter Ishii has higher potential and a really nice profile. He is a little further away from the show, but he's got the defense to stick it short. I kind of wish I scouted him. I also passed up on Nathan Madden, who was a guaranteed high potential starter, but he was 23 years old. I decided not to take him, but in hindsight, I kind of wish I did. The profile just looks really good, and despite him being older, it's only going to take a couple years for him to get into the show, so I kind of regret that one a little bit, and he's headed to the Guardians in our division. And we finished this season 65-97. That is terrible. I know that the fans need us to turn this around next year. Otherwise, we might start to lose them. What I will say is that not all was lost this year. Luke Keschall at second base was pretty good with a 769 OPS, and he actually surpassed his potential. I really like the profile here. I think I'm going to stick with Keschall for the foreseeable future, and he ended up putting up only .7 WAR though, which I don't really know how that's possible. Good contact, good discipline, pretty good speed. I don't know. We'll give him next year and see what he can do. I'm definitely more excited about Walker Jenkins, who did end the year on a cold note, but a 761 in his first major league season, including going up to a potential and improving a lot against lefties. I am pretty excited about our young outfielder here. And I'm also pleased with Brett Beatty. He'll be a solid infielder for us for a couple more years. He's got 2 more years of team control. He did have a 709 OPS, which is just about what you would expect from him, but I wanted to see some improvement. The good news is he still racks up decent WAR because he's just a solid all-around major league player. I think I'm going to have to give up on Matt Wallner, though. He was our worst qualified hitter this year, and the vision being 11 is just really bad. He cannot make enough contact, and a 276 on-base percentage is straight up awful. He had negative 1.8 WAR in back-to-back years. It's time to go. Other positive news, though, is that Connor Prelip and Taj Bradley look like decent starting pitchers in the rotation. So we've got those guys to lean on, and we've also got some exciting prospects on the way. Cam Caminiti could potentially come up next year. I haven't decided on it, but he developed really well in AAA, so he is an option. And don't forget about our second rounder from the last draft class here, Edmundo Francisco. He's still got a little ways to go. I need him to be able to get lefties out better, but he developed nicely as well. And then you've got Kirby Mauer, who went from 72 to 77 overall this year. Nice improvement on the hitting stats and also some good improvement in the fielding, but he's going to need another year in the minors before he can actually play third base in the major leagues, that's for sure. And lastly, I've got some good young shortstops moving their way through the farm system here between Kalen Culpepper, who's probably going to play next season, and also Tate Southazine, who is another year away, but projects to be a really solid player. I'm definitely coping a little bit because the team was awful, but we have some things to look forward to as the Marlins defeat the White Sox in the 2027 World Series. Wow. I am going to blame some of our problems on our coaches, so I fired half of them, and we're going to get some new guys in here for this next season. We need some fresh faces and some new ideas, let's just put it that way. Looking at our first base depth chart, there is just no present or future here right now, and this is a problem that I definitely need to solve going into future seasons. We tried Nate Lowe last year, but I want to shoot a little higher this season, and the Rays just offered me Jonathan Aranda. He is coming off of back-to-back years with about 40 home runs. On-base percentage is really solid. He's putting up 3 to 4 WAR each of these seasons. It feels like a good move for our future because I could extend him as well. He's pretty young. He's still 29. There's definitely some good years left in him, but the challenging part is I would have to give up on Taj Bradley. Taj gave us 170 innings or so the last couple years. When I look at the underlying metrics, the whip is a little high, and the WAR totals are not that crazy either. He actually took a step back this year in all of his per nines. His Ks per nine were down, his walks per nine was up, his home runs per nine was up, and his FIP was 4.6. I think maybe we've already seen the best that Taj has to offer. And I think I'm going to accept this trade. We're going to have to find some solid innings from another starter at some point, but I feel like this is a huge upgrade for our offense. And I'm going to plan to build around Aranda for the next 4 years and offer him a $67 million contract. If we can have a little better offense this year and maybe more average pitching, that is a route to success in Season 3, while I wait for guys like Caminiti and Francisco to come up into the rotation. And there is our deal with Dean Kramer to get in the rotation. $7 million is pretty good. I offered this trade to the Astros already. They rejected it. I offered him a different one, and they just countered back with the original thing that I offered them. So there's that. I'm gonna be moving on from Brooks Lee. We have too much infield talent on the way up this year and next year, and I need to find some more innings from a pitcher that I believe in. Huey Miller's got great control, and as he develops over the coming years, I think he's gonna be pretty good. I'm going to accept this deal, and a lot of old names are starting to move out here that we started with. And one more move here. I'm moving off of a couple of relief pitchers, as well as a right field prospect, in return for this 18-year-old right fielder who I am going to immediately put on our bench next year. I really like this guy. Ashton Roberts only has C potential, but he's got some great tools, and he should be able to hit pretty well. Very proud of my Rays here, giving out a big deal to a homegrown talent in Shane McClanahan. He is going to be there for 7 more years, and he got paid. We're shopping in a little bit of a different market over here this year. I'm looking at Cal Quantrill to eat some innings for us and be an average starter. And then we've got a couple relievers that I'm eyeing as well. Things are coming together. I'll show you the team when we get ready for season number 3. Here is our lineup for next year, which I like quite a bit. I liked the team last year, did not work out, but I moved a lot of pieces around. So we've got some new faces, a big name in Jonathan Aranda, who is going to be here for 4 seasons. I'm betting on him because, as you saw, there's just nothing coming up for us at first base. We needed a long-term solution, and he's a great hitter. So he'll be in the middle of our lineup. This is Buxton's last season. What does he have in store for us? Hoping for more success from Brett Beatty and a lot of development from now a potential Walker Jenkins. I mentioned that I traded for outfielder Ashton Roberts, who is immediately coming into the show. He's going to be kind of just a pesky hitter with some speed, decent contact, and then we're going to let Kalen Culpepper take over shortstop. We've got a lot of talent coming up in the infield between Tate Southazine, Culpepper, of course, but also Steele Hall and Guardado, our draft pick from last year. So that's why I traded Brooks Lee. Not to mention that we have Kirby Mauer in AAA and on the cusp. I'm training that defense as quickly as I possibly can. And I already mentioned my plan with the rotation, to go a little bit cheaper, but with guys that I think can all be average with maybe a little upside. Are we going to see some development from Mick Abel this year, who's got B potential? He's still younger, 26 years old. He's going to get a full-time opportunity. Connor Prelip was really solid last year. Hopefully he can back that up as our ace. Already talked about Huey Miller. This is the control freak that I'm hoping can develop into something longer term. This will be his first year in the show at 24 years old, a top 100 prospect coming up. We'll see what he can do. We've got Yogo in long relief. He's been here with us the whole time. And then I retooled the bullpen a little bit, bringing in Colby Allard, who's just really solid, does not give up a lot of base runners at all. We've got Cade Gibson. My guy was available in the Rule 5, so he's coming in. We're pretty lefty heavy in this bullpen, but they're very solid lefties, including Sam Henches coming in for high leverage. And we're going with Cole Sands again as our closer. He's done well in that role, so he's going to stay there. I am only one more year away from the super bullpen emerging into the show. We've got Ruiz, Vasquez, and Randolph all in AAA, and they're all going to come up next year. So that plan is coming together. So we're about 2 months in here, and things seem to be working a little better with this formula. We're 4 games above 500. Only problem is the rest of our division is really good. Besides the Royals, they are really, really struggling. We are second in runs scored right now, just behind the Dodgers, so there's a little better recipe here. The home cooking is pretty good. I haven't checked the ERA just yet, so let me flip on over and do that. I'm scrolling down and not seeing us here. We are 26th, which I just cannot believe. Seems like the main issue here is Mick Abel to start the year. I'm pretty happy with where everybody else is at, especially Connor Prelip, who's really developing into a nice starting pitcher here for us on the Twins. Good news is that Cam Caminiti is on the way here. He's pitching pretty well in AAA, and I want to get that hits per 9 versus righties close to 60 before I bring him up. We'll see. The main guy on the fast track to a call-up here is Kirby Mauer, who is electrifying AAA right now. He's been hitting very well, and if I can't put him in the field yet, we could keep Brett Beatty at third, and I can maybe have Mauer DH. That is an option. Let's see where he's at, closer to the All-Star break, or maybe closer to September call-ups. We've got the second best offense in the league, so I don't necessarily feel the need to bring him up right now. I have found a couple of late-round gems on the scouting that I'm really excited about. We've got second baseman Freddie Cruz here, who's got a little bit of pop. He can also play short. And I found, let's see, first baseman Bradford Chow with some serious pop. And you know that we are lacking in the farm system on the first base side, so he's an interesting option. And then in the first round, in between catcher Sammy Griffin and shortstop Carlos Escobedo. So we'll see where we're at. Still like 6 weeks left of scouting to try to find some more talent. Towards the end of June, we're still very much in the hunt here. We need just that little bit of an extra edge. We need something to push us over. And I think I want to look at the trade market here. We're right there for the wild card. Obviously, our division is really tough. So we've just got to find that little bit of extra juice. And there are so many good starters on the trading block that we can get as a rental who are obviously going to be better than Caminiti coming up. He's not quite ready. I want to try to get Bryce Miller. The Mariners want a third baseman, and obviously I'm not going to give up Kirby Mauer. That's the future for us right there, but I do have plenty of infielders, a lot of shortstops here, including Steele Hall, who they could convert over to third base, and I don't really need them because we got Guardado, we've got Culpepper, Southazine, all these guys on the cusp, and then I'm going to give them a starter that can just eat the rest of the innings that they're going to need without their rotation that they're trying to trade away in CJ Culpepper. Let's see if this works. This feels like a pretty realistic offer to them, and here's a different offer going down as Pavetta's headed to the Marlins, and they considered it, but decided to hold. Let me see what I can do. I thought they might want a starter to eat the innings, but maybe instead of that, I can give them a starter prospect because we've got quite a few. I do really like Mike Bean, but if this gets it done for Bryce Miller, who, by the way, has another year of team control after this, I'm liking that. And that is also rejected. Okay, I guess I'll try to give them Bean, the prospect, and Culpepper, along with Steele Hall. This is about as far as I'm willing to go here. We just need that little bit to try to hunt down the other teams in the Central here, and they countered to a trade that I had already offered them before. I am happy to make this deal. Breen and Hall for Bryce Miller, a front of the rotation starter, exactly what we need. This is perfect. And with Miller in, who is having an excellent year, by the way, I can send Mick Abel down, and we'll try again maybe next year. He has not been able to figure it out. I like where the stats are headed. It's just not his time yet. I shipped out some of the farm, but let's go get some prospects back here in the 2028 amateur draft. This is a really strong draft class. I love my board. We're strong at the top. We could go with Joe Hanna, starting pitcher, if he falls to us, which, by the way, we have the number 6 pick, which kind of stinks because I would really like catcher Sammy Griffin, who could be major league ready soon with high potential. If I can't get him, this shortstop, Carlos Escobedo, looks great. So another shortstop who is a true shortstop with the defense. If we get any of those guys, that's fantastic. I'd love to get Curtis Wright, in that second round with pick number 40, but we could even go with him in the first round. There's some more good starters here with Jim Ryan. Sam Donovan is major league ready almost. Great control. Very keen to see what these teams in front of me do. I don't know where we're gonna go. Sammy Griffin gets taken first overall. That does not surprise me. Nobody else got taken off my board though, so now I've got to make a decision with what I want to do here. I'm leaning Escobedo, but Hannah's good. I just don't like the hits per 9 against righties. He is the #1 player in the class, but I think if I finished Escobedo's profile, he would jump up further. And a high floor, high potential, nearly MLB ready starter in Sean Donovan is really enticing. This is a tough choice. I feel like I've got to go with Escobedo. Good defense, good contact, plays a premium position, can play all of the infield. This feels like the right pick. I don't think I could have gone wrong with anybody that I laid out there. And now we just have to hope that my mid-round guys don't get scooped up here. It looks like at least some of them survived. Diego Hernandez is interesting as a starter with the hits per 9. The control's just not great, and that's kind of a deal breaker for me. He does have a nice 5-pitch mix, but I think I want to get some more position players. And Gonzalez looks good. Cruz looks good. Let's go for both of these guys, hopefully back-to-back. We'll start with Gonzalez. And Cruz is still here. I've got some more closers, by the way, for our super pen coming soon. Both of them were discovery or non-ranked, so I can come back for them. We'll grab Freddie Cruz here. Might seem kind of strange, but I like this starter, Gerald Lancaster, just because of the hits per 9 and control, and he shouldn't be too far from the show. So I'm going to go with him here. Get another pitcher, because I don't think I'm going to get a starter if I don't take him. I'll take my 2 closers here, maybe a late round position player, and I'll wrap this draft up, and we'll see how they look here in a couple weeks. Bryce Miller's an all-star, not because of us, but he is pitching great, and like I said, combining with Connor Prelip, who is an all-star because of us, and having an excellent season, we do have a nice 1-2 here at the top of the rotation. Those are our only all-stars, as we're in the exact same spot here, just trying to scratch and claw our way through this AL Central. Well, tough news here. Our first rounder, Carlos Escobedo, is injured. Did not see this until after the draft here, so hopefully it doesn't affect him too much. I mean, the type of profile that he has, he should still be able to get away with it without having super high potential, so we'll see. And on top of that, my starter, the mid-round guy I took because he had a nice profile here, still has a decent profile, but he is also injured. We're playing even better now. We're 11 games above 500 after making some moves here, but I just don't know if we're going to be able to make up ground in this division. I don't think anyone is catching the White Sox this year. They're probably the best team in the league right now. Skubal leading their rotation along with Murakami, who is an electric power hitter. Davis Martin in the rotation looks very well-rounded, solid pitcher, and just their, the development of their young guys, including adding Bretton Doyle here. This is a really good team. The way things stand right now, 3 AL Central teams are filling up the American League wildcard. So hopefully we can hang on to that spot. Let's take a look at our draft picks. We'll see if Escobedo got nuked from his injury. Does not look like it. Wow, okay, we've got some really solid potential here. And 91 for Escobedo. You know the classic contact profile in MLB The Show. I'm going to try to train his power up a little bit. But the great thing about these kind of guys is they can get into the majors quickly. So he will probably take over shortstop or second base in the next couple years. And I may have to trade some of our other infield prospects just because we're going to be overloaded and there won't be room for Escobedo. 18-year-old power-hitting right fielder Abraham Gonzalez here in the second round, 59 overall with 94 potential. Exciting profile. He should be able to access that power because the contact projects nicely. And then same exact overall and potential here for Freddie Cruz at second base, and he has also got a power profile, but a little more ways to go on the contact tool. He does seem to have some good defense. I mean, this is a really strong draft class until we get to this dud here of Lancaster, who ended up being injured, and he's not going to play. And catcher Sammy Griffin does look really good. I wish I could have got him to play behind the dish for us, but he is going to the Nationals. Season 3 is going a lot better than the first 2 seasons. Let's see if we can have a strong finish to the year, as we just won 5 in a row, and now we take on those White Sox, but we lose the series, and we'll see how we do here as we get closer to the end of the season. Can we find our way into a wild card spot? 3-game set against the Guardians at the end of August here, and they sweep us. That is not a good sign. Now we get the Yankees, and we sweep them, but we're still in 4th place. This division is unbelievable. Thankfully, we're hanging on to that last wildcard spot ahead of the Red Sox. Another 3-game set against the White Sox here, and we end up losing that series as well. They are just way too good this year, and we lose a series against the Rays. And now we got back-to-back series against AL Central teams. The Tigers just swept us, and the Royals just swept us. We just fell apart. The Royals aren't even one of those 4 teams that has been good this year, and that was a devastating stretch of games. And we are now well on the outside looking in for a wildcard spot. I don't think we're going to make it. Just an absolutely brutal finish to the year as we end up with only 83 wins. We had been really solid and really competitive all season, and then all of a sudden we lose 10 games in a row, and that just knocks us out. I mean, there's no other way to put it. That's a complete choke right there. It was definitely our best season yet, and Jonathan Aranda really led the way for us, and he's going to be here for 3 more seasons holding down first base. 900 OPS for him, 842 for Jeffers, who will be going into the last year of his deal next year, and unfortunately, this is going to be it for Byron Buxton, who's going to hit the open market, and I don't think I'm going to be able to afford him. We do have some league leaders and awards here. Let's start with the league leaders, and it's Bryce Miller, who dominated almost every pitching stat. And let's check the awards, and it's Bryce Miller winning the Cy Young. And shortstop Kalen Culpepper gets the AL Rookie of the Year. We can't take all the credit for Bryce Miller's Cy Young, but we can take half of it, as he had 21 wins, a 2.5 ERA, and 207 strikeouts, taking down Skubal and Parker Messick. Kalen Culpepper with 12 home runs, 59 RBI, some really good development as well this year. And Ashton Roberts, who I traded for, is also a lot of fun, and he came in second for the Rookie of the Year, so he'll be in the outfield for a few years. Simming to the offseason here, and the Mets defeat the Tigers in 2028. That is hard to believe the way the Mets are playing in 2026. So heading into season 4 here, I'm going to look to extend Bryce Miller to be our ace while this young core is coming up here. 4 years, $30 million a year, and let's see if he is interested. Most likely, I'm going to have to trade one of, or potentially both, Brett Beatty and Luke Keschel, because I need to make room for young guys on their way up here. And that includes our best prospect, Kirby Mauer, coming up here. Is he going to make some errors at third? Yes, but the development has gone well over the years, and hopefully it can continue, but the plate skills are ready. He's 80 overall here at 23, so he is on the 40-man, and he's headed to the show. And as we are finally, as an organization, beginning to emerge out of this rebuild, a whole host of young guys are going to be coming up, and that includes more of our super bullpen. Left-hander Luis Ruiz is coming up, and so is right-hander Eduardo Vasquez. They'll be joining Ed Randolph, who came up last year and was really solid, and then we've got more guys on the way. And also in the rotation, Cam Caminiti is going to be coming up, because he is finally ready. He got the hits per 9 against righties up to 60, which is the last piece of development I was looking for. So we'll see what he can do in the rotation. Edmundo Francisco is the next promising guy after him, but he's actually not developed that quickly in the minor leagues. So he is going to be in AAA next year, but we're still waiting on Francisco, who was our second rounder? Yeah, second rounder from the first draft class. I decided to trade 2 of our outfielders, Austin Martin and Alex Call, for a center field prospect here because I want to upgrade in the outfield next year. And I also traded Luke Keschel for reliever Tobias Myers, who could also fill in as a starter if needed, or in long relief. He looks really good. And like I mentioned before, I've got too many guys, young guys coming up in the infield that I don't need to pay the ARB contract for Luke Keschel, who's only been okay. And going back to what I was saying about the outfield and trying to upgrade there, I'm looking at Spencer Steer, who's got a really solid profile, a well-rounded hitter, and he's been putting up seasons in the 800s for OPS all 3 of these simulated years. So I think he's going to be an improvement over Austin Martin and Alex Call, that's for sure. I'm not sure that I need Tanner Houck now that I brought in Tobias Myers, but I do want David Bednar because I think we need an experienced guy to kind of, lead the charge here for all the young closers that we're going to have coming up here in the super bullpen, Bednar's coming off a great year. What I like about him a lot is he combines a high strikeout rate with a low walk rate, does not give up many home runs, so hence you've got a really solid FIP here, and that's exactly what I'm looking for in a closer. Bryce Miller accepted his 4-year deal, so he will be at the helm here, at the head of our rotation for the next 4 seasons. I'm really excited about this. This is one of my favorite pitchers in the game, and I was able to land Spencer Steer on a 3-year deal. I didn't want to go 5, but I did overpay him. I sweetened the pot to make him happy, $25 million a year. And I also got our closer, David Bednar. I know it was a bit of a rocky start to this rebuild, but I really like where this Twins team is at and where this organization is at as a whole going into year 4. This is our pitching rotation and bullpen headlined by Bryce Miller, and don't forget about Connor Prelip, who's been excellent. Huey Miller should develop into something. He's got the control, he's got plenty more potential. He did not pitch great last year, but I'm expecting Huey to turn things around. Caminiti's going to make his debut, and then I'm going to go with Tobias Myers in the rotation. 57 stamina, so, 4 or 5 innings is really good, but the plan is that I've got Yogo and Mick Abel who can piggyback off of him. Let's see what Mick Abel can do in long relief. Maybe that'll help him have a better season. And also, I need those guys there because Huey Miller has low stamina as well. So we're going to need the innings, and these guys are going to kind of fill in and bridge the gap for us. And I also really like our lineup with the addition of Spencer Steer, who's going to lead off against righties and bat a little more in the middle of the order against lefties, where he really excels, but he should be an all-around good player. Pairing him up with Aranda and Jeffers, 3 solid hitters here. And then you add in our rookie Kirby Mauer, who is going to DH. We'll see what he can do. That means Brett Beatty's going to play third base for another season. Can Walker Jenkins improve a little more this year? He didn't develop great in season 3. I need to see him get to 80 overall this season. That's the goal. Tate Southazine is up. Another young guy is up. He's not playing against righties, but he is playing second base against lefties, where he's a little better right now. So we'll see what the young prospect can do. He is a big part of the future. Him, Mauer, Jenkins, Culpepper. These are the young guys that are going to be key pieces of this roster for the next handful of years. Buxton, by the way, ended up landing with the Tigers in our division for 2 years, $38 million. And the White Sox added to their already very good pitching rotation with Kyle Bradish. This division is really tough. They traded for Shane Baz at some point last year as well, who was on the block. I don't know. This is going to be a challenge to beat this White Sox team. You can go ahead and put an up arrow next to the Minnesota Twins in 2029. We are only getting better. Adding a certified good hitter and all-around player in Spencer Steer to the front of our lineup here is just going to make a big difference, even if he strikes out here on opening day. But from top to bottom, this lineup just looks so much better, in my opinion. And Aranda coming off of a career year, how's he going to follow that up? He has a nice all-fields approach, but that one's headed to shortstop. The big news, of course, though, is Kirby Mauer joining the Major League roster. One of the most hyped up prospects in the league is here to join the Minnesota Twins, but he strikes out in his first plate appearance. And also, we have none other than last year's Cy Young winner on our team and locked up for 4 years. Brett Beatty opens the scoring this year with a 2-run shot, and a solo shot from Kalen Culpepper gets us up 3-0. Unfortunately, it's a rough day for Kirby Mauer, as that is his 4th strikeout. But finally, in his 5th at-bat, he draws a walk, although there's going to be a challenge, and that is ball 4, so he does get on base. David Bednar comes in and gets the save as the Twins win on opening day. And Bryce Miller had 7 very solid innings, only giving up 2 runs. It is July 8th. We are a week out from the MLB draft here, and we're finally playing some really good baseball. We are in 2nd place, just behind the Guardians, and the Tigers and the White Sox are right there. Once again, this AL Central is gnarly. Back-to-back years where we have been a really good offense here, and Spencer Steer is going nuts. We will take a look at his stats here in a moment. Our rotation got off to a pretty rough start, including Bryce Miller, who was getting absolutely shelled and went down 2 overall. I don't think this is regression by any means, but it was a rough start, and he's just now beginning to turn things around. Bednar has been exceptional as our closer, and Vasquez has been very solid in the setup role. Luis Ruiz, not quite as good so far, but just need to be patient with him as he continues to develop and get some more innings under his belt this season. There should be a lot of upside in this pitching staff, and I think we can get playing even better once these guys kind of get their act together. Offensively, it has been the Spencer Steer show so far this year. 27 home runs and 70 RBI in 86 games. We're just past that halfway point in the season. He has been unbelievable so far. He has already matched his career high home run total, and he's on pace for 45 home runs right now. This is awesome. Jeffers is also having a career year with a 400 on base percentage. Aranda's been really good, and the rookie Kirby Mauer is starting to figure things out here at the plate. 19 home runs, 52 RBI. The strikeout rate is a little bit higher than I expected, but he seems to be getting used to major league pitching. The OPS is at 818. Kirby's fielding is also improving a lot. It's almost up to 50, and I'm getting more comfortable with him eventually taking over third base. This is another draft class here in 2029 that is really all about the starting pitching. There's a lot of talent here. I think John Isaac might actually be generational, and I don't think he's going to fall to our pick because I'm at number 17 this year, and he's the number 1 player in the class. If I can't get him, there is a long line of starting pitching talent here to choose from, so we should be in a good spot. I can't believe it. As Big Irrelevant just gets Corey Seager from a live series back, John Isaac is still on the board for our pick. It's a little harder for me to tell what a generational pitcher looks like. I don't see a lot of them, but he's so well-rounded that I think he might actually be generational, and there is no doubt that I'm taking John Isaac in the first round of year 4. I took another starter here in round 2 with pick number 40 in Bernardo Silva, who looks great. I'm very excited to see his profile. And then for pick 55 here, I did find one other good closer in this class, so we'll continue to add more talent for the future of this super bullpen in Damian Peace. Pretty cool name and a solid prospect here. And I'm going to go back for another highly ranked starting pitcher here for our 4th pick in Robert Coffey. He looks really good. And now I'm going to take some high upside, low overall position players to finish out my last 3 picks in this class, starting with second baseman Johnny Montenegro. I'm going to grab left fielder Rick Cash, who started as a non-ranked. And I actually ran out of position players, so I'm going back for another high upside starter here in Will Arneson. The NL defeats the AL in the All-Star game here, and we don't have any starters in this year. Obviously, the rotation has not been quite as good. We do have Tobias Myers here, who is in the rotation, of course, but he is voted in as a reliever, and he's been excellent and continuing to develop. And our closer, David Bednar, is here with 27 saves so far. He is regressing, so I need him to try to hold on the best he can. He's blown 6 saves, which is not great, but I'm still happy with the results so far. Exactly what I was expecting. Jeffers having that career year is an all-star. That is 2 all-star appearances in the 3-year deal that I gave him. Very happy about that. And it goes without saying that Spencer Steer is an all-star. He's one of the best hitters in the league this year. I don't think he can keep up quite this pace, but he is in second place for the MVP, just behind Nick Kurtz. But I am confident that Kirby Mauer will hang on to this Rookie of the Year. He is the best rookie in this class, and he should run away with this award, which would be back-to-back for the Twins. With the rotation continuing to struggle, I decided to make a trade ahead of the deadline for Ben Brown, who looks great, and we need some help in this rotation once again. I was able to put together a prospect package that really centered around this center fielder, who I do like a lot, but we need some help right now. I'm sticking with Bryce Miller, of course, but Connor Prelip is just struggling, and I don't understand why, so he's going to be going into long relief, and I'm probably going to just send Mick Abel down, and I don't know if we're ever going to really see Mick Abel here. I just don't think he's got what it takes. At the end of July here, we managed to win a 4-game series against the White Sox, including a very dominant Game 1 with Cam Caminiti on the mound, so that's a great sign for us. And we also have won this series against the Yankees as we get into August. So we're right in the thick of things. We're not in first place. We're certainly not in last place. I do really like this team, and I just think there's more upside that we have not yet tapped into. I'm trying to stay patient. I just need this rotation to get hot here, including Ben Brown. Need him to stay hot. He's been having a great year, which is why I brought him in. So hopefully we can have a strong finish to this season. But right now we need to take a look at our draft picks because I haven't been this excited to reveal them in a while. Is John Isaac going to be generational? And he is. This is my first generational starting pitcher in MLB The Show 26, and I can count all the ones I've ever had on one hand. We have just found an ace of the future in John Isaac. Look at this profile right out of the gate at 18 years old. My goodness, what have we just gotten in Minnesota? Now, the stuff ratings on his pitches aren't exactly great, but unfortunately in this game, that doesn't matter. Well, I guess depends on how you want to look at it. But either way, this is so exciting. I can't wait to get John Isaac in the major leagues. I'll definitely start him in the minors just to get that development going and get him comfortable, but we have got something very exciting to look forward to. I am so excited for the future with our generational pitcher on the way, but for this year, we are right in the thick of things, in the middle of a wild card race, and our run differential looks very good. I think we're headed for the playoffs here, so let's sim towards the ends of this season. Of course, right as I say that, we get some of the worst news possible just 5 days later. Spencer Steer is going to be out 1 to 2 months. He should be back for the playoffs, but this is a real blow, and I feel for him personally because he was having that career year. And this just reminded me to check on Walker Jenkins, who is up to 80 overall, and he continues to develop, especially against righties. The power has gone up 9 rating this year because he has 20 home runs. A big step up for one of our very promising pieces of the future and the present. We managed to get by okay in August without Spencer Steer at the top of our lineup, taking a couple series from teams in our division, but we lost another series to the White Sox. This time they're actually behind us with 1 month left to go, as the Tigers have built up a pretty good lead over the Twins and the Guardians. We are in that final wildcard spot, but it's going to be a close race. Steer should be back in a couple weeks here as we get into September and lose a series against the Guardians, and now we take on the Royals and we come back with a sweep before facing the Guardians once again, and this time we win the series. And that has us tied with them for second place in the AL Central. We're not going to be able to catch the Tigers though. And finally, with about 2 weeks left into the season, Steer is back and he is headed right back into the middle of our lineup here. Just in time for a 4-game series against the Tigers. Even if we can't catch them in the division, this is a really good test for this team as we lose all 4 games. Despite that L4, we are still in the final wildcard spot, but the White Sox are right behind us. I cannot believe how difficult this division has been as we take this series against the Marlins, and we're going to finish out the year against the Cubs, and we win that series, and thankfully we will make the playoffs, and we'll be facing the Guardians in the wild card. Crazy that 89 wins has us barely into the postseason. I mean, look at how competitive the Central was once again. The Tigers do seem to be just that little bit better than the rest of us here, as their run differential was about 100 and ours was about 60. Same with the Guardians, who scored more runs but also gave up more runs. Once again, we have some league leaders and awards. We'll start with the league leaders, and it's walks for Ryan Jeffers. We'll certainly take it. He's getting on base, and he actually just beat out Roman Anthony, who's got a great eye at the plate. And Jeffers, in his final year back on this 3-year deal, had an elite season at the plate. I've got a feeling I know what this award might be, and okay, Gold Glove for Ashton Roberts, and that's what I was expecting, an AL Rookie of the Year for Kirby Mauer. Back-to-back Rookies of the Year for the Twins here, and Kirby Mauer was amazing. 34 home runs and 93 RBI, and he developed very well this year. The fielding being at 50, I think is good enough for him to play everyday third base now. But really, he is a hitter first, and he absolutely delivered on that, coming in with a 792 OPS. Unfortunately, as we're about to get in the playoffs, I look at the stats here, and a lot of big names in our lineup are cold right now, so that doesn't bode very well. We traded for Ben Brown, and I do feel confident that he can be a good playoff starter for us, and Huey Miller did develop the way that I wanted him to this year, so he seems to be solid in the rotation. It's really Bryce Miller that just shocks me, having a 4.5 ERA, and then Cam Caminiti with about a 5 ERA. Obviously, you've seen the struggles for Prelip and Abel, which is why I moved things around this year. Going into the playoffs, I don't feel that good about our rotation, but we do have a generational pitcher on the way, so that does make me feel a little better. Here is how I'm going to set up the rotation for our first ever playoff run. Bryce Miller I'm going to trust to be our ace and our Game 1 starter, with Tobias Myers following him up. Ben Brown can't be in the 2 just because he doesn't have the stamina. He needs to recover, and then Huey Miller will be our 4th starter with Caminiti going into long relief alongside Connor Prelip. Like I said, I only feel okay about the rotation, but I do feel really good about our bullpen, so if we can get a lead, I think we can hold it. Let's see what we can do here, as just one day after finishing the regular season, we go into the playoffs against the Guardians. This is a very good matchup. Bryce Miller versus Gavin Williams for Game 1, we lose 7-5. Tobias Myers versus Parker Messick for Game 2, we win. Ben Brown and Justin Steele in the decider, and we lose, and we are eliminated in the first round. Definitely a step in the right direction overall, but we've got to get even better to compete in this division, as those Guardians defeat the Dodgers to win the 2029 World Series. We finally do make the playoffs, as we have steadily improved every year, which is great, but we've got to get even better, and going into this offseason, we're going to be losing some key pieces of this team in Ryan Jeffers and Brett Beatty. Looking at our starting rotation for next year, year 5 of the rebuild, we've got Bryce Miller, of course, and I will have Ben Brown again, as we had that extra year of team control. It's going to cost $20+ million, but then we're going to have a very strong and consistent one too. Bryce Miller, that was an outlier year last year. I think he'll bounce back, but I probably need to move on from Connor Prelip, just because that last season was really tough. I definitely anticipate improvements from Cam Caminiti and another good year from Huey Miller. I think it's time to get Edmundo Francisco into the majors. We drafted him in the same draft class as Kirby Maurer. This was our 2nd rounder, and he's up to 24 years old, and I think the stats are in a spot where he could be a good 5th starter. The control is obviously fantastic. Home runs per 9 is good, and he limits hits against righties, so I think he can at least be around a 4 ERA. As far as our generational talent in John Isaac, he's going to start his career in AA, but I'm expecting a very rapid rise, similar to what Trey Savage did, where he went through 5 layers of an organization in 1 year with the Blue Jays. I don't want to throw John Isaac straight to the Wolves, but we're going to be monitoring him very closely and look for a quick move up to AAA and then to impact the Major League roster by about August. Looking at free agency, I think we could get a little better in the outfield. Kyle Tucker is on the board here, and he's coming off of a down year, so he's only asking for about $28 million. He only played 72 games last year and did not play very well. He was actually a negative WAR player, which is not the Kyle Tucker that we know. I think this could be a big move for us. I don't really want to go 3 years at 28, but I would go 2. And I also have Francisco Alvarez on the board. We can get a little more defense at the catcher position with still a pretty solid overall hitter, and I think he's on the cusp of breaking out. He's also 4 years younger than Ryan Jeffers. And Kirby Maurer could play third base, but so can Michael Garcia, who's got 1 more year on his deal, and it's very affordable, $11.5 million. That's going to make him really expensive in a trade, but I think we could put him at third for a year and give Kirby 1 more season to develop that defense, and then I'm trying to trade some good prospects. This is a top 25 prospect right here, and Jeremy Montenegro, ways to go, and then also an outfielder who's MLB ready, and Gabriel Gonzalez. So we'll see if the Royals like this. It's obviously in division, but they've been struggling. I decided to go ahead and trade McAble. It was time to get him into a different organization. He's heading to Seattle, where I would not be surprised if he ended up breaking out as a good starter. And in return, I got a right field prospect who I am going to convert to a center fielder. And both Alvarez and Tucker seem to be pretty good fits for us, so I'm optimistic we can land these guys in free agency. Looking back at things though, I don't know if I can really sign Tucker because it's going to push our budget just too high for what I think the owners would be willing to do. It definitely seems like some of the other teams in the AL Central are upping their budget. I mean, this Tigers roster has a lot of expensive, talented players here. And don't even get me started on the White Sox, who signed Turk Skubal for $1.8 trillion. But I just don't know if it's going to be money well spent, considering Ashton Roberts would be the guy that Tucker replaces. And I know he doesn't have a lot of power, but he's been a solid player. Like last year, he only played 124 games, but he put up 3.8 WAR. And he was a Gold Glover, so I don't know if I can convince the owners to go for Kyle Tucker. I'm a little surprised that it seems the Royals aren't happy with my offer here. I felt like this was pretty fair, top 25 prospect and an MLB ready outfielder. I guess I'm going to have to juice it up a little. Okay, well, the Royals countered with a deal that I'm just as happy to give them. Montenegro, that could prospect, and a MLB ready shortstop instead, Merrick Houston, who looks okay. And we can get a year of Maikel Garcia, which I think is a great fit. I'm going to accept this deal, and I'm pretty happy about it. The top and middle of our lineup was getting a little lefty heavy as well, so this helps me in another way, and obviously I can slot Kirby back to DH, which is probably still the right move for now. And now for our catcher, Francisco Alvarez, he accepts on the first offer. So another offseason down, and once again, I feel really good about this team. We got Maikel Garcia coming in, Aranda and Steer coming back, Kirby Mauer, Rookie of the Year, is only getting better and better. He's going to be in the middle of this lineup. Walker Jenkins also broke out last year and improved quite a bit against lefties. Obviously has more power against righties, but he's becoming a really good everyday player. Hasn't even scratched his ceiling yet. We'll see what Francisco Alvarez can do as our catcher for the next 3 years. And then you've got our young guys in Culpepper and South Azine coming in to play middle infield. I've mentioned it a few times, but the clock is really ticking on these guys. They need to perform because you've got Guardado coming up, who's more of a second baseman because of the defense, maybe even a DH once we transition Mauer to third base. And then you've got Escobedo, who is the shortstop of the future here. That's already kind of set in stone. So there is pressure on Tate and Kalen to perform. And if Bryce Miller can get his act together, I think this is a very good rotation. Him and Ben Brown should be an excellent 1-2. Tobias Myers is going to be fantastic as well. Huey Miller, Cam Caminiti. I like what we've got here. We've also got Edmundo Francisco coming up too. He's in long relief for right now. Things are flexible here. Yogo has also started at times for me as well. So he's there. And then in our super bullpen, it's still kind of a work in progress getting to that super part. I did sign Kevin Kelly, who is always nasty in this game and really good in real life this year too. Just a funky sidearm look there. But we're going to go with Luis Ruiz as our closer. Second rounder from 2026. This is our guy right here. And it's finally time to put him in the highest leverage role possible. And obviously, again, it goes without saying, but I'm going to say it again, all eyes are on generational starter John Isaac in the minor leagues. He is looking to join this rotation and really give us that extra bump this year. This is a very exciting season. Let's get this thing underway as we end up losing the first series of the year. And here we go against the White Sox with a break in the middle of it for some reason. And we end up losing that series as well, but we do bounce back against the Pirates to start out at 500. And we're done with the high draft picks in this video, but we still have 8 picks this year, including 5 in the top 100. So it's just as important as ever to continue adding talent to our farm system. And you don't see this every day. There is a reliever named Cy Paul, ranked 12th in this draft class, who would be really fun, but because he's ranked 12th and we picked at 20th, I don't know if he can be part of our super bullpen, but we'll see. Pretty wild here at the end of May, and we've won 10 in a row, and yet still we are in third place. The Tigers are 9-1 in their last 10. I mean, this division is an absolute nightmare right now. We are getting a much better year out of the rotation so far, with the exception of Cam Caminiti, who is struggling. And with our generational talent, John Isaac, sporting a 2.3 ERA and a 1. Whip in AA, it's time to get him into AAA. I went in and watched a game in AA, and he was absolutely dominating, so hopefully he makes the transition smoothly here into AAA. Pretty pleased with everything offensively so far for our full-time guys, Roberts, Mauer, Garcia, Aranda, Jenkins. Everything seems to be working, and even Kalen Culpepper's having a little better year here, but Spencer Steer has been cold out of the gate. Hopefully he can turn this around. And as far as a scouting update here, I haven't found any good position players so far. It seems like another draft that is going to be loaded with pitching talent, including a couple of very promising discovery guys. Okay, end of June now, we're in second place. We just cannot get to this Tigers team. They have been playing so well because we are 55-29 and not in first place. We've got the second best offense in the league. It looks like the Dodgers, with the addition of Yordan and Ellie De La Cruz in free agency, are going to be the best offense in the league. That's going to be tough if we face them in a World Series someday. On top of that, we are second in ERA, but look who is first. It is the Tigers. Pretty similar run differentials. We're able to score a little more than them, but we just cannot seem to get in front of them in this division race. So far, so good for John Isaac in AAA, a 2.68 ERA and a 1.22 whip. So I'm liking what I'm seeing. However, Caminiti has started to turn it around in the rotation. On the flip side, in the long relief role here, Edmundo Francisco, our first starter called up to the show, is not doing too well. So maybe we could find a spot for John Isaac. If he keeps dominating, we could put him in the rotation and maybe put Caminiti into long relief. So far, it's been a career year for Ashton Roberts. Remember, I traded for him a while ago. Just this contact hitting outfielder, Gold Glover. He's been great. Really, I'm excited to see Kirby Mauer with a 935 OPS just continuing to improve. And it seems like Spencer Steer has started to heat up here, which is really important because he is a difference maker for this offense. Really not much notable to cover for this draft, just some good pitchers. I'm going to try to come back around for Moreno and look to maximize this class by taking a non-discovery starter here in the first round. I don't necessarily love Marcel Swanson, but should be valuable. Hopefully Moreno can stay on the board, and he does. However, I'm going to continue to wait on him and just go for one of the only handful of position players I found that I like here in shortstop, Jose Torres. Probably high B potential. Moreno's still here. I did find two closers that I like here. Damon Pappas moved up the board a lot, and he should just have guaranteed high potential. So I'm going to go with him here so I don't lose him. Mario Vizcaino was a discovery guy who also looks great, so we'll come back around for him later. And Moreno is still here for our next pick, so I'm going to take him here. Third overall ranked player in the class. This is huge value. We have Eduardo Tate in the farm system who hasn't really done a whole lot throughout this rebuild, so I wouldn't mind getting another decent catcher in there. He's going to be a big project, Pierre Molina, but let's just grab him here. I need some potential behind the plate. Now I'll grab closer Mario Vizcaino. Again, this was the discovery guy. And then I've got a non-ranked center fielder here who's just a gamble that he might have some high potential in Paul Handy. Really nothing too special, just probably a solid average draft class here. We do have some all-stars, of course. Ben Brown, just excellent results this year, a 1.78 ERA. And then our talented young closer, Luis Ruiz, is here. He's doing great in the closing role, 29-3 so far. Underlying stuff is a little concerning, not striking out as many guys, and the FIP is kind of high, so hopefully that's not a sign of bad things to come. He is not the only closer of ours that is an all-star. We also have Yogo in here, who's got a 2 ERA and a .81 whip. I have kept him around for a while, haven't talked a ton about him, but he's just looked too good and been so versatile for me that I had to just keep him on this team. And finally, another part of this God Squad bullpen here, Ed Randolph is an all-star as well. And last but certainly not least, our first ever draft pick, Kirby Mauer, is an all-star with 22 home runs and 70 RBI. He is up to 86 overall here. We've already got some big contracts on the books here, so I'm not really in a rush to give Kirby Mauer a long-term deal. It's really going to depend on what he does defensively if he ends up getting one. Looking at the trading block here, I just really don't feel the need or desire to bring on a veteran pitcher with a really expensive long-term deal here. I don't really see anywhere in the offense that we need to upgrade, honestly. Really, our improvement can come in-house if Isaac continues to perform the way he is in AAA. We stumble a little bit here coming out of the All-Star break and lose a few series, including losing 3 to a bad Royals team. They're a little better this year, but man, that's tough. And then we just lost a series to the White Sox, who are right behind us in this division as the Tigers continue to separate. And Isaac, unfortunately, really stumbled here with 3 bad starts in a row in AAA. However, before that, he threw a complete game shutout with only 1 hit and 1 walk. So there's obviously massive potential there, just not quite the consistency yet. Of course, he is the #1 prospect in the country. There is no doubting the talent here. Just need to give him a little more time. Let's look at some other talent here. How did we do in this draft class here? And yeah, just kind of what I expected. How were the closers though? 67 overall, 93 potential for Damon Pappas here, who I really like. A little bit disappointing with my other closer though, having only 87 potential. I say disappointing, I mean my expectations are just kind of high right now based on some of the closing talent that I've seen and that we've acquired overall. Very standard class overall, just more decent talent to fill up the farm system. Well, here we are ahead to September 1st. 5 games out, we're playing great, we're going to make the postseason once again, and it is time for September call-ups, and I think we should give John Isaac some reps in the major leagues. I'm still pretty high on Caminiti. He's just not having the results this year. Way too many base runners. And also Francisco, who I mentioned before, is struggling. So there is certainly a spot in here for John Isaac. And I actually did make sure to add John Isaac to the 40-man early enough that he could pitch in the playoffs if he performs the way I'm hoping he will. I'm going to slot him into this last spot in the rotation, and we will see how the 18-year-old superstar can do. John Isaac's first Major League start today against a pretty good Mets team. How is he going to do? And we win the game 6-2. 6 2/3 with only 3 hits, 3 walks for John Isaac, 2 earned runs. Really, really good. And also Kirby Mauer with his 33rd home run of the season in this game, and he's now over 100 RBI. So we're heading to the end of this year, and we finish with 96 wins, and that is still only good enough for a wild card spot, and we're facing the Guardians again. Very much deja vu from last year, but one big difference is that our rotation was so much better this season, including John Isaac, 2.27 ERA and a .88 whip here. Rapid development this season from 80 to 85 overall. He is going to be on the playoff roster. No awards this year. We do have a league leader, and it's Ben Brown for whip. What an excellent season from him. And pretty similar to my updates earlier in the year, it was really Mauer and Roberts that led the offense. Aranda with another great season. He has been so consistent, and he's actually up to 90 overall, surpassing his ceiling. In the top right corner of this screen here, he hit .333 against lefties this year, even better than he did against righties. Not quite as much power and production, but wow, that is very impressive. And just look at the consistency and this track record here in a Minnesota Twins uniform. Aranda's been fantastic. And bringing in Maikel Garcia for a year I think was a prudent play. .374 on base percentage while playing premium defense at the hot corner. My only complaint here is with our new catcher, Francisco Alvarez, who is our worst qualified hitter. I'm not as worried about the on base. I know that seems low, but he doesn't have great vision or discipline. So really the thing that I'm bummed about is the slugging. Not even getting over 400 is pretty disappointing. So once again, with this wildcard series being right after the end of the season, we've got some guys who are tired, which means I'm going to go with Tobias Myers as our Game 1 starter, and then Caminiti and or Miller will have to piggyback off that, and John Isaac is going to be our number 2 starter here, so we'll see what we can do here. So here we go. For the second year in a row, it's the Twins and the Guardians. Tobias Myers versus Gavin Williams. We win 3-0, 5 scoreless innings from Myers. John Isaac versus Kyle Bradish, and we win. 16 hits and 14 runs from our offense here in Game 2. Aranda with a homer, and John Isaac with 6 innings. He did give up 4 runs, but then the super bullpen came in after that and shut down the Guardians, so we make it past that wild card. And with that, we'll be playing the AL Central champions in the Tigers. This does line up a little better for us now because we'll have Ben Brown and Bryce Miller going for games 1 and 2, so I feel good about that. The Tigers have been a very impressive team so far though. So here we go for game 1, which we win 2-1, a pitcher's duel, and Bryce Miller versus Chris Bubich for game 2, and we lose. So we're headed home with Tobias Myers on the hill, a great start against the Guardians. What has he got for us in game 3 here? We lose 7-5, and now facing elimination, John Isaac is on the hill. I'm going to trust our young superstar here. I'm not changing anything. I'm not putting Huey Miller in there. Game 4 is all John Isaac's, and we lose, and we are eliminated. Isaac was okay. 5 innings, 4 runs, nothing special, but if I scroll further down here, our superstar closer, Luis Ruiz, blew it. I think I mentioned during the year that Luis Ruiz's underlying data wasn't looking that great. I still have faith in him for the future as our closer, but it seems like he got in a big spot there. So we're going to have to re-rack it all again as the Dodgers defeat the White Sox in the 2030 World Series. AL Central is just going nuts right now. So I'm going to make this offseason and this next season quick because I don't think we have a whole lot to prove at this point during the regular season. We are going to be losing Maikel Garcia and Ben Brown. However, that is not going to be an issue at all because we will get a full year out of John Isaac in the rotation. And in the lineup, Kirby Mauer will finally be our everyday third baseman. Only 54 fielding, he's got the arm strength to do it though. We'll see what he can do. Last year, just in the DH role, he put up 5.6 WAR. So if all things stay the same as far as his offense, is he going to have more or less WAR depending on that defense? Probably less, but we'll see. Now that Kirby Mauer is going to be playing the field, our DH spot opens up, and I'm going to fill that in-house with a guy who has been itching for an opportunity, Bartolo Guardado. The plate skills look very good, defense not so much, but that is okay. He will be our DH next season. Our shortstop of the future, Carlos Escobedo, is definitely knocking on the door here. However, we've got Tate Salthazine, who's really developed nicely. He is going to play shortstop this year, and I'm going to trade Kalen Culpepper. I'm packaging Culpepper with reliever Kendry Rojas, who did not have a good year last year after being very consistent the first 4 seasons with the Twins here, and we got the number 23 prospect back in return. Very happy with this. One of our big rivals here in the Guardians, they just continue to add, trading an 8 potential starter for Jack Caglione, and they've got some more pop in that lineup now, that's for sure. Really straightforward offseason, honestly, not a whole lot to say. I do think an important storyline for this year is that this will be the last year for Steer and Aranda, and they are big pieces of our offense. I really think this lineup is good enough to win a World Series. It's just a matter of actually doing it at this point. We've improved a lot with a core of pretty similar players over the years. Obviously, Bartolo Guardado is new. The switch hitter is going to be our DH, so I'm excited about him. Add a little bit of juice against lefties. I don't have a whole lot to say. Eduardo Tate's coming up as our backup catcher. I think the rotation and bullpen is just as good as the lineup is, and now we have John Isaac here, generational talent, full season for him. The sky is the limit for a guy who's capable of winning Cy Youngs down the road. Bryce Miller at the helm. I like where we're at. Luis Ruiz as our closer once again, expecting a better year out of him. I mean, this is as good as it gets, especially as he will continue to push closer to that 8 potential. I'm excited to see what we can do. We've got one new member of the Super Bullpen in lefty Estevan Jimenez. And let's see what our other 8 potential young starter, Edmundo Francisco, can do in long relief. Certainly expect more from him at this point. Last year was just abysmal. I've really got my eyes on him because if Cam Caminiti is not effective, Francisco has got to take that spot, especially as Caminiti gets into arbitration next year. Will this be the year that we emerge as the best team in the AL Central? I'll see you at the All-Star break. So unfortunately, I lost a couple of clips here, including the MLB draft, so I have to see my draft in a minute. It wasn't anything too special, but really what else is there to say at this point? I think our team is good, but so is everybody else in our division. This year, the Tigers are just okay. Their offense is still really good, but the White Sox have taken over first place. We're actually out of a wildcard spot right now as the AL East has started to improve between the Blue Jays and the Yankees, who haven't factored in a whole lot so far in this rebuild. It's so crazy to me that this is the spot we continue to be in when our offense is once again one of the better ones in the league, and you see a name right there in the middle, JJ Weatherhold. I traded for him, and again, that was one of the clips that I lost. I'll show you him in a second, but you can see that there are 2 powerhouses in the NL between the Dodgers and the Mets. With the players that they've gotten in free agency over the years, these are the 2 best teams. And I say that because as I flip to ERA, they are also 1-2 in ERA, and there we are at 3 with John Isaac leading the way. He has been our best starting pitcher as Bryce Miller is kind of having a down year once again and actually beginning to regress with 1 year left on the contract. He's still a great pitcher. I did make some other moves that I also lost clips for. Edmundo Francisco's in the rotation because Tobias Myers is having a down year, but Huey Miller's been good, and Cam Caminiti is giving me about all I can take at this point because 4 ERA is good for him. A weird one this year again is that our closer Luis Ruiz, who looks amazing, continues to struggle, and he has blown 6 saves. I can't believe he's only had about 20 opportunities up to this point. He's just not pitching well, and he lost his job to Kevin Kelly, who is pitching very well. It's funny, with all of our stud relief pitchers at this point, Yogo is once again our all-star, and that is back-to-back years for him. Michael Garcia is an all-star, and the other guy here is Kirby Mauer, his replacement at third base, so both these guys are playing well. Kirby Mauer's up to almost what his max ability is going to be, so you're kind of getting a good look at who Kirby Mauer is here. Elite against righties, solid against lefties, not that great defensively. I think his max potential is 94, but he's having another good year with 22 home runs and about 60 RBI as a big part of our offense. So I mentioned I traded for JJ Weatherhold, and that is because before him coming in to play second base, I just had Nick Sogard playing there, just kind of a contact defense type of guy, which I didn't mind, but we needed an upgrade if we are going to compete. And you can see Weatherholt is elite defensively, very good against righties. I am worried about him against lefties, so he's a little further down in the lineup against lefties, but yeah, I mean, this is just an extra jolt here for the lineup. I did give away a few good prospects for him. Coming out of the All-Star break, we did get hot here, and we actually won a 4-game series, a sweep against the Guardians, and we dominated them on both sides of the ball. So that is a really good sign, as we're now 11 games above 500, but still in 3rd place behind those Guardians. I wish I did not lose the clip here, but I don't think there was anything too special in this draft. But let's take a look at our picks here, and wow, okay, there is a lot more potential here than I expected, honestly. Now, in the first round, I went for a safe play and took this starter because he had high hits per 9 and high control. So Dennis Morris, that was really all it was about there. But this second rounder, James Fishman, was 22 with guaranteed high potential, and he does not disappoint at all. I guess I should have taken Bob Young in the first round, this starting pitcher with 97 potential. And he's got an exciting profile, 19 years old, 91 potential for this second baseman. I mean, really solid. Another starter here with 97 potential. So actually one of the maybe higher potential classes I've had so far. But at this point, we are in kind of turnkey competitive mode. I'm not as focused on the draft, really. I'm just really focused on competing. So let's have a good finish to this season. Okay, we just had a huge month of August, and this feels like a month that had been there for the taking for this team for years now. And we only lost 5 games. And look at all these wins. We're only giving up a couple of runs. We're putting up lots of runs. We beat Milwaukee 14-2. And I am very excited to say that I think for the first time, we are in first place. I am feeling so much better about this team now, and I cannot wait to get back to the playoffs. By the way, before I send to the end of this season, look at Aranda. Potential's up to A. He's at 93 overall. I know this is the last year of his deal, but we might have to re-sign him. And we are coming to the end of this season, and we finish with 100 wins, winning the division. And in the final month here, we swept the Tigers, won a series against the White Sox, lost one against the Tigers, but then bounced back with a series win over the Guardians. This is the best team we've had so far. And again, I'm going right over to the league leaders and awards. Let's start with the league leaders, John Isaac with ERA and innings pitched. I am very excited to see what kind of awards we got, and we got Rookie of the Year for John Isaac, okay. And it looks like that is it, as the MVP race is full of players from other teams in the AL Central. Look at the White Sox, my goodness. Not to mention they had Tarek Skubal getting Cy Young votes, but we had John Isaac getting Cy Young votes. Look at the profile, up to 90 overall. I mean, just an incredible year, 17-6 in decisions. He gets super deep into games and leads us to victories. What a player. So he came in first for Rookie of the Year, deservedly so, but Bartolo Guardado had an argument for it as well, and just look at this profile with the power. I mean, we are loaded up. He played every single game in the DH role, had 31 home runs, 92 RBIs, 70 walks. Wow, that is a 5-WAR season as a DH. This guy's pretty much Yandy Diaz. I'm so impressed with all these guys. I mean, this roster is really, really good. We finally put it all together. Talked about Aranda. He was insane this year. 132 games. He didn't even play every day, and he had 47 home runs. He has been consistently performing at an elite level at the plate, and this was his best season yet. Kirby Maurer with another great year, and look at this. The defense is actually getting into the yellow. I'm feeling really good about Kirby long term. 903 OPS this season, and he put up 5.2 WAR while playing in the field. I've got confidence that we could give him a long-term deal and not regret it. I've also got a lot of confidence in this rotation as Bryce Miller really bounced back. You know about John Isaac, and Edmundo Francisco is finally putting it together as well with a 3 ERA this year. I mean, this is kind of what I've been waiting for, this sort of breakout. Huey Miller was solid, and so was Cam Caminiti. This is great news. Thankfully, we made it past the wild card round, so I can actually put our best pitchers up front here. When we get to the division series, we're going to go Isaac, Miller, Francisco, and Caminiti has earned himself that last spot. This really feels like the year. I don't want to jinx it, but with that rotation and this great of a lineup, including Weatherholt in the middle of it, I mean, this team is so good. There's so much to talk about, I even forgot about the fact that Tate Southazine is now up to 86 overall, and he had a great year in his own right. It's the best team we've had yet, but it doesn't mean anything unless we can take down the Guardians in the division series. And even though we won the division, both the White Sox and the Guardians are in the playoffs, and they are very good once again. At least this time around, I can confidently say that we are the best. And here we go for Isaac and Bradish in Game 1, which we lose, Miller and Prelip for Game 2, which we win, headed to Cleveland, Francisco and Gavin Williams, we lose, Caminiti and Messick, we win 18-4, but it all comes down to a Game 5 with John Isaac on the mound. In Game 1, he went 5 innings and gave up 3 runs, which is not awful, but our bullpen just has not lived up to the billing, really. Can he go deep into this game and avoid the need for a bullpen entirely? He can, as we win to move on to the championship series against the Red Sox. 13-7 victory over our main rivals, I would say, at this point in the Guardians, and John Isaac did not pitch well. He gave up all 7 runs, but the bullpen clutched up. Very disappointing performances so far from our ace. He has got to turn it around if we're going to win a World Series title. And we're about to take on a fairly familiar Red Sox team with Crochet, Anthony, Abreu, Tolley, but they've added Jeremy Pena and Ben Rice. This is a good team, but we are the favorites going into this series as Miller faces Crochet in Game 1 and we dominate them 14-4. In the last 3 games, our offense has put up 18 runs, 13 runs, and now 14 runs. So our breakout lefty Edmundo Francisco, another homegrown talent, has Game 2 against Peyton Tolley, which we win 6-5. Now we go to Boston, Caminiti, and Early, which we win 13-1. We are looking unstoppable right now. Can John Isaac finally have a good start here in Game 4? He can, as we sweep the Red Sox. Man, it feels good to not be playing a team in the Central. And looking at the right side of the bracket, the Pirates are in front of the Dodgers right now in the NLCS. I really want them to win this series so we can face them, but it's gonna be the Dodgers who clutched it up. They might be the only team I can say is better than us, as they had 107 wins during the regular season. And I've shown you this before, but as a reminder, they added Yordan Alvarez and Ellie De La Cruz at some point, as well as Schwellenbach, and they re-signed Tucker. Oh boy. I didn't even mention a 36-year-old Shohei Ohtani who can definitely still murder a baseball. No one in the rotation has been very good except maybe Caminiti, so we're just going to have to go with what we got here and see what happens. Here goes nothing. Twins-Dodgers, Isaac versus Yamamoto, we win 2-0. John Isaac finally locks in 8 scoreless innings. And now we get Miller versus Schwellenbach for Game 2, which we lose. And then we head home. Caminiti versus Ohtani, we lose 10-1. Oh boy. We're going to have to make a comeback now as Francisco gets Yamamoto this time in Game 4, which we win. And he went 6 scoreless innings. The rotation is pulling it together here. And we get John Isaac back against Robleski for Game 5, which I'm feeling really good about. And we win 10-6. We are up 3-2 in the World Series. We have got 2 chances to get the title and complete the rebuild. Bryce Miller and Spencer Schwellenbach in Game 6 in LA. Simulating in 3, 2, 1, and we lose. We're going to a Game 7. 2 juggernauts will face off tonight in a decider game in Los Angeles. Legends will be made tonight. Twins-Dodgers Game 7. And on the mound for LA is none other than Yoshinobu Yamamoto. If there was anybody you want to be starting a Game 7, it is Yamamoto, but that's back-to-back walks to start the game, and Weatherholt with a triple scores 2, Mauer with an error. We are up 3-0 early. But Cam Caminiti is going to have to face a monster lineup, and right away, Kyle Tucker with a solo shot, 2 runners in scoring position for the Dodgers, but he gets out of it. And a solo shot from Tate Southazine here in the second. We are up 4-1. Yamamoto might not be on his game today, but we need Cam Caminiti to stay focused. He gives up a second run here. It's 4-2. But in the top of the third, Spencer Steer walks, a single from Weatherholt, and Kirby Mauer with a single to load the bases. And the Dodgers are going to their bullpen for Gordon Graceffo. our offense has knocked Yamamoto out of the game in the top of the third where we have the bases loaded and nobody out. If we can't get any more runs here, I'm going to be very disappointed as the switch hitter Guardado steps in from the left side, bases loaded with 1 out, 3-2 pitch on the way, he lines it into right field, that's going to get down in front of Tucker. 1 run is in, a second run is in, it is 6-2 Minnesota. Guardado with a swing of a lifetime in Game 7. Tate Southazine with a deep fly ball into left. Jordan is not going to be able to throw out the runner coming home, and it is 7-2. However, no lead is safe facing these Dodgers. Caminiti's trying to navigate this lineup again, and that is a clean inning. So far, so good. We are still up 7-2 as we head into the 5th. Caminiti facing the top of the order. It's another clean inning. As each out passes, my confidence grows just that little bit, a clutch double play, but a double from Montez, however, Caminiti gets out of it again. That is going to be it for him. As we head to the bullpen, Ed Randolph is the first man up, and he gives up 2 base runners. Tobias Myers coming in, gets the strikeout, and we've got the bases loaded for Spencer Steer in the top of the 8th, and he singles in 2 more. We should be able to win this game. One of the most experienced arms on this team at this point is in for the 9th to try to shut things down, Tobias Myers, and that's a good start. 2-2 pitch on the way, and that is murdered into right field. Let's just pretend that didn't happen. We're still up 6. Alex Freeland at the plate now, and he lines one straight to center field, but Jenkins ranges back and makes a catch over his shoulder. Myers giving up some hard contact. Thankfully, we've built a massive cushion for him. That looked like a nice pitch. Alvarez wants to challenge it. Here it comes, and that caught a piece. So he gets Tommy Edman down in a 1-2 count, and here is the pitch. He got him to chase. Final man up for the Dodgers is Kyle Tucker. The Twins, emerging from a very difficult AL Central, are now 1 out away from a World Series title in a Game 7 against the Dodgers. There's the pitch, and he got him, blew the fastball right by him for strike 3. A Minnesota team that has been waiting for a moment like this to finally put it all together gets it done. The Twins stun the Dodgers in LA and get the crown. What a moment and what a rebuild as we secure the title. That was insane. To come up that big and knock Yamamoto out in a Game 7 like that just shows how good this offense is, and massive shout out to Cam Caminiti for 6 solid innings. Man, what a game. And our World Series MVP is Spencer Steer. How about that? He batted .385 with 2 home runs and 10 RBI in those 7 games. That is very impressive. So it took 6 seasons to turn this team around, and I'm really pleased with this rebuild and with this roster. I really feel like I made a lot of good moves in this rebuild, and Jonathan Aranda is a big part of that. Bryce Miller is a big part of that. Spencer Steer coming in. Things just worked out great with all the contracts and extensions that I gave out. Getting JJ Weatherholt at the deadline ended up being a big play. He really sparked our offense, and Kirby Mauer has developed into the best hitter that we got in the draft class. I mean, this is a great player. And how about getting my first generational pitcher in MLB The Show 26? And like I said at the time, one of only a handful that I've ever had. And if you want to see John Isaac's career continue, I am going to plan to do some live rebuilding with this team going forward because I am not ready to move on yet. We still have so much good talent that is on the way that we didn't get to see, including power hitting second baseman Freddie Cruz with that defense and pop. I mean, what a cool prospect. Obviously, we want to see how Kirby Mauer's career pans out. And one of the guys that I was most looking forward to who was going to come up next year is Carlos Escobedo, the shortstop of the future here. And frankly, if there's anything I'm a little bit disappointed in, is I feel like I could have built a much more insane bullpen over the years here. I was definitely planning for it, but we won before a lot of these guys could come up. So we also need to see how crazy this bullpen can get. And like I said, I am going to plan to do some rebuilding live with this roster. I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you fell asleep during it, that is great. I hope you had a nice sleep. I'll be back again soon with another rebuild. I've got some crazy ideas in mind here. So drop a like, subscribe if you haven't. Take care, and peace.